Hello and welcome from me, Philip Nothard and Curtis Hutchinson to this special Motor Trade Radio podcast interview.
Many thanks for joining us for this chat with friend of the podcast and our resident wellbeing guru, Steve Whitten from Menable, who joins us to talk about Mental Health Awareness Week and what it means to the automotive sector. Welcome back to the podcast, Steve.
Yeah, hi guys. Good to be back. Thank you very much. I love being described as a guru. I would,
yeah, you'll take that, won't you?
Well, I don't know, but I might have used the word survivor if I'm honest.
Yeah, we could have gone down the line of spiritual leader and things like that. What guru seems?
Oh, don't go there, Phil.
I wondered how long that would take. I'm going to come back to that.
We did have our discussion last week about spirits with
I know you did
as well. So yeah.
And the week before.
Exactly, yeah. So, I mean, welcome back, Steve. It's always fantastic to have you on. And but, you know, do you want to tell us a bit more about Mental Health Awareness Week, which started on Monday, the 9th of May, and it runs all the way through to the 15th of May. And the theme this year is on loneliness and how it impacts our sector.
Yeah, no, indeed. Yes, absolutely right. So, yeah, Mental Health Awareness Week is 9th through to the 15th of May. Although, to be fair, many organisations are taking it as a whole month. Personally, I mean, I love these sort of awareness days and weeks, but I think, you know, we should be shining a light on this stuff kind of permanently, really. So if these weeks go some way to doing that, you know, just to get people thinking, then that's great. But yeah, we're taking part, of course, as you would expect, and we're doing some bits. And as you rightly say, the theme this year is loneliness. And I did an article on it actually yesterday, where I actually asked people to think about, you know, what does loneliness actually mean? Because for many people, if you think of loneliness, you think of, you know, that elderly person that lives on their own with no family, or that homeless person that's destitute, or that introverted kid in the playground who, you know, doesn't find making friends easy. But the reality for us, I think, in the automotive sector is that loneliness is actually a place that you can be in, even if you're surrounded by people. And even this week, I've had conversations with sales execs and technicians who just feel like they've got the weight of the world on their shoulders, even, and that, you know, because they didn't feel they've got anyone to reach out and talk to, that it feels lonely.
And Steve, at Menable, I mean, it's interesting what you're saying about loneliness, because those jobs that you just described, you kind of picture people working in teams, and yet they're still lonely. So, you know, it is important to draw attention to that. But what I found quite interesting was that you're actually taking a different perspective, and you're celebrating mental health as a positive. So, can you tell us some of the thinking behind that and how that feeds into Mental Health Awareness Week?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, well, just if I'm honest, you know, again, the loneliness bit resonated for me massively, because, you know, although I was in a job and I've always worked in busy environments and I had a loving family around me, my issues were that I felt lonely because I felt like I was carrying, you know, everything myself. But when I look at what I achieved because of my mental health, you know, in terms of, it depends how you measure success, of course, but if you're talking about, you know, whether that's in terms of, you know, material things, or where you are in life, or, you know, how you're feeling about yourself, all of that. If I look back on all of those, yes, of course, there's been massive moments where mental health has dragged me down. It's caused immense trauma and disaster, really, in the family, as you well know. And but at the same time, I think, well, do you know what? We're kind of moving towards now celebrating, you know, in a way that we never did before, but celebrating gender and diversity and sexuality and disability, ethnicity and so on. And I thought to myself the other day, I thought, why aren't we celebrating mental health? You know, because it's not the one that's left with the negative connotations, although obviously there are many aspects of that, but it's actually our mental health is the thing that's quite often carried people through their lives, and is the thing that's made them successful, made them who they are, shaped their personality, shaped their thinking, and got them the successes and the life that they've ended up with. Does that make sense?
It does. It's a good point, Steve, because it is often seen as a bit of a taboo subject, whereas you're saying, well, you actually need to celebrate your mental health in the same way that you celebrate your physical health, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I suppose the thought came to me a couple of weeks ago. One of our associates that we work with, she came with me to, we've kicked off some wellbeing sessions with one of our platinum members. And we went to the sort of inaugural session of that, and she came along. And I found myself in the car saying to her that I know that she's got ADHD. And I said to her, as obviously I'm not her boss, I said, but as we're working together, I said, how should I work better with you? What do you expect of me in order to work with your mental health situation? And she kind of looked at me and went, wow, that's the first time anyone's ever asked me that. And I said, yeah, don't ask me where that came from. It was just a moment of thinking, actually, your ADHD is unique to you. It makes you who you are. And so that thinking then just became, for me, thinking, well, yeah, okay, you're right. We can look at the negative side of mental health. And of course, there are times, many times where we have to address that. But at the same time, let's consider that, those are the things that make us unique and make us who we are. And it's like our fingerprint. And yes, I know I'm flamboyant and I'm out there and I'm, a character in front of people. And that's worth celebrating because that makes me who I am. It doesn't mean that's who I am all the time. But yeah, so I thought, let's take a different angle on this and celebrate mental health rather than looking at it constantly as something that we've got to fix or that is a problem.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I mean, moving this to the listeners and how they can get involved with these kind of things, and I believe you've got some special offers, 2 special offers for Motor Trade Radio listeners. Do you want to run through what the listeners can get through this with yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, what I would do is just precede that by saying that every time I do a little Menable Moments, I just remind myself that I'm blown away by the support you guys have given us. Given us this slot and given us the opportunity to, be a part of raising the awareness of mental health and well-being in our sector. And I just really would like to thank you both and, all the sponsors for getting involved with that. It means so much. And we thought, well, okay, let's do something sort of in return to celebrate Mental Health Awareness Week or month. And so what we've done is we'd like to offer listeners of the podcast, so no one else, just for you. This deal isn't for anyone else. We'd like to offer your listeners a 30-minute consultation on well-being for their business. So this is for owners, CEOs, MDs of any business of any size. But I've got to say, especially the smaller ones, because I don't know if you picked up on in the IMI's Diversity Task Force report recently that came out. There's a stat in there that says that 86% of businesses in the automotive industry employ 1 to 9 people. And I thought, wow, that's huge.
Yeah.
So, this kind of offer is for them in particular because, if you're a Marshalls or a Peter Vardy or a Virtue or whoever, the bigger companies have got access to an infrastructure of support. If you are those smaller businesses, you probably don't know where to turn, but the responsibility of well-being in your business is no less just because you only have a handful of staff. So we'd like to offer a 30-minute consultation for any of those business leaders that want to have a chat. If they're unsure where to go, what to do, how to sort of navigate this potential minefield, then, we'd be very happy to have a chat with them. And they can I'll give you the contact details of that fairly soon. But also for the month of May, I know you guys have supported us with promoting the Menable Me app. I think you're even on it, Phil, aren't you?
I am, yeah, certainly am. Watch the updates and the videos and content on a regular basis. It's great.
I know you get stuck in and you take part as well, which is brilliant. So what we'd like to do for the month of May is that the normal retail price of that, we're going to halve it for Motor Trade Radio podcast listeners. So there is already, if you go to menable-me.com, there's 2 plans on there, and if you click the one on the right, which I think says MTRP, that's right, isn't it? Fan or something like that, then you can basically select to join Menable Me for half price, and that runs for a year, by the way, but the offer will be open throughout the whole of May.
Well, Steve, these are both really great offers, and thanks for sharing them with our listeners. I think listeners can also get in touch with you by email, emailing you at action@menable.org, or as you say, just do it through the Menable Me app.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, so that's menable-me.com, or as you say, action@menable.org.
And obviously, before you go, I mean, Curtis and I do really appreciate and enjoy your regular Menable moments. As you know, I mean, we do listen to them and have a little chat about them afterwards on the regular podcast. And, can you tell us what sort of, feedback you get from this? Because we see some of the chats on social and things like this, but what kind of feedback do you get from those Menable moments? Because you did touch on it a bit earlier.
Great feedback, if I'm honest. I mean, all of our ambassadors tend to sort of share it on their own network. It gets talked about on Menable Me as well, because it gets shared on there every weekend. And yeah, I mean, we've got a couple of ambassadors that have joined us as a result of hearing what we're talking about. So, they've come on board because of the podcast. And also, I'm going to give a big shout out to. I hope you won't mind me describing him as one of our fans, but Chris Wiseman, who's the managing director of Wessex Garages. We have we jokingly have a sort of Friday afternoon catch up, and we talk about that quite a bit. And he always says that he makes a particular point of listening out for the podcast, and finds it fascinating. So yeah, I think we're between us all, we're getting the word out and doing what we need to do with it. So yeah, it's great. So thanks again. And I've got to ask, Phil, have you had any more thoughts about spirituality?
I think I'm more down Curtis's route of the regular cupboard of spirits and the glass of spirit than
I loved it a couple of weeks ago. I mentioned the word spiritual or spirituality, and I could physically hear you take a sharp intake of breath. Where's he going with this? Did make me chuckle.
Well, one day I'll share with you if you came to my apartment and with the candles and things that my Sarah gets involved with. But right,
okay.
The sage,
right. So
the saging.
Now, I can sense now you're quite nervous.
Yeah, the saging.
I'm wondering where this is going.
Yeah, you don't want to know. No. I'll stick to my whiskey cupboard, my spirit cupboard.
Yeah.
That's my. Okay, I have a cupboard of it.
How did we get to candles?
No, exactly. I was worried about that as well.
And back again.
Well, Steve, look, many thanks for joining us. We really do appreciate the time you've spent with us talking about Mental Health Awareness Week. And just to recap, anyone wanting to get in touch with you and take you up on those kind offers of free consultation and half-price membership can email you at action@menable.org or go to Fans of MTRP, which I assume is Motor Trade Radio Podcast.
It is, yeah. See what I did there?
I've cracked the code.
Well done.
So
Well
go
done.
to Fans of MTRP plan on the menable-me.com app. And I also believe, Steve, that they can find you on LinkedIn and Twitter.
I have been known to post the odd thing on LinkedIn. Yeah.
Yes, we've noticed. Well, as I say, Steve, Look, many thanks for joining us. Unfortunately, that's all for now. Thanks for listening to this special Motor Trade Radio podcast interview. Please like and share on social media if you found it useful. We'll be recording more weekday interview podcasts over the coming weeks and months, so do keep an eye on your podcast feed. We'll be back with the industry headlines on Saturday. Until then, it's goodbye from me.
It's goodbye from him.
And it's goodbye from them.